So in this video, we are going to see how to use Excel solver. And for this, we're going to choose the case of the monopoly equilibrium. So assume we have a market demand curve. You have them here in the first cell, which is price, so the inverse demand curve, which is price equal 700 minus 5 times the quantity. And a total cost function, which is 340 plus 5q plus q squared. Okay, so what I detail below is first the parameters of the inverse demand curve, where the intercept is 700 and the slope is 5. And then for the total cost function, the first constant parameter, which is 270, the parameter multiplying the quantity, which is 5, and then multiplying the q squared, which is 1. So in the monopoly, what we want is to maximize profit. So that's going to be our objective function in solver. Let me show you solver first, so we see what we are going to have. Okay, so if you open solver like this, that's what you have. If you cannot see solver and the data and then solver, then you are going to have to install it. And to install it, you need to go to File, Options, and Add-ins, and then go, and then you will have solver. Let me also show you this actually. So if you go to File, okay, and you go to Options, you go to Add-ins in the left-hand corner, and then Excel add-ins, and here I already have it installed, but you just say click solver add-in, okay, and then it will show in your data, in the interactive menu under the data tab. Now see, you need to tell solver what's going to be your objective function to maximize. In this case, we want to maximize profits. So this has to be a function. So in this case, we're just going to have to write here the profit function. And remember, this is equal to the total revenue minus the total cost. So the total revenue is the price, which is going to be the inverse demand curve, 700 minus 5 times the quantity, which is one of the parameters that we want to estimate that you have there, times, that's the price, and then times the quantity, and then minus the cost. And the cost, you have here the total cost function, will be 240 plus 5 times, again, the quantity that you want to estimate, plus 1 times the quantity squared. And that's going to be your objective function. Don't worry about this number now that you have here, okay? This for now is irrelevant. And now what we want to tell Excel solver is, can you estimate what would be maximizing profits, the optimal level of output, and also the price. So we go to Excel solver, in objective, we select profits. Make sure here you have maximize selected, and then which variable cells you want to change. We want to change these two. We want to estimate price and quantity. And then you have to add a constraint. And the constraint is going to be, make sure that this price over here equals that inverse demand curve. Because remember that the monopolist, where we'll select output, where marginal revenue equals marginal cost, and you are doing that with maximizing the profit function. But the price will be selected in the demand curve, in the inverse demand curve. So the price has to be equal to 700 minus 5 times the quantity. And this is the constraint that you will have here. Now we just have to press solve. You will always have this pop-up window in which says, okay, keep the solver solution in the cells. Okay, and as you can see, it already gives you the optimal level of output, 57.9, the price 410, and this will be the profit. You can actually try to solve the equilibrium algebraically to see if this would also be the solution, but I can tell you this is actually the solution for the monopoly. And this is how you use Excel Solver. However, I wanted to point out that there is a difference between using Excel in a Microsoft computer and a Mac computer. If you have a Mac computer, the difference is in how to introduce this restriction. If you are using Windows, the restriction will be introduced as I said, price equals 700 minus 5Q. However, if you are using a Mac, you will have to constrain, and then here you will have to add another formula, and you have to equal the restriction to 0. So it will be the price minus 700 plus, because you are passing this minus 5Q to the other side, 5 times Q. And then you leave this like this. Don't worry again about it. Okay, and then in Solver, instead of this restriction, yes, if you have a Mac, you will have to say, oh, this formula has to be equal to 0. Then you will press OK, and this is how you introduce the constraint in Mac. So then if you press solve and OK, you will have exactly the same parameters. Because I have a Microsoft computer, I'm not going to do it, okay, because the way that you introduce the constraints is the first way that I showed you, but just take this into account in case you have a Mac computer.